Namaste. This is the last but one episode of the Willpower series. If you have watched my previous videos, you will know in one of them I mentioned that I am big on planning. I love to plan. I love to challenge myself. I love to experiment with a variety of things, safe, nothing unsafe. But it is only since maybe the last few years that I have become pretty good at implementing the plan. Until then, I was always planning extravagantly, but was never as good at implementing them, and there were much lesser goals that I happened to reach successfully. In this video, I would like to share just a few pointers that might assist anyone who's looking for it. Without further delay, let's jump right into planning tips. Number 1. Any kind of change has to take place gradually. Do not try to change more than 20% of an ongoing habit or trend at a time, and be ready to give it at least a month before you adopt any further change. Now, that doesn't mean you have to compulsorily make a minimum of 20% change. Even as less as 10 or 5% is also good enough. You will still make progress and without putting much pressure on yourself. Number 2, try not to be a perfectionist in everything you do. I plead guilty here. I used to overthink and try and be perfect at stuff, at whatever I do, and after a painfully long time I realized that by being like that I was losing significant amount of time, and all that time amounted to nothing. Because of this tendency of mine, literally years were wasted. Not just that, there was a time when the lines were blurred between perfectionism and the excuse of perfectionism. What I mean by that is I no longer knew if I feared that things won't be perfect, or if I were only procrastinating what had to be done on the pretext that it had to be perfect and anything less wouldn't do. Truth is, not just us humans, nearly everything in nature is imperfect, and as weird as it may sound, the fun and beauty lies in those very imperfections. The imperfections themselves are perfect. Also, I remember a friend once told me, there is never a good time to start. You keep waiting for the perfect time to arrive. It never will. You just have to start taking action, however imperfect, and make suitable amendments along the way. You can afford to finish tasks less than perfect and still do a good or satisfactory job. That way you will be better off on the whole and also achieve more. Remember, trying to be perfect is very stressful and so very time consuming, and no one can work well under pressure. Number 3. Have an idea of what you want to accomplish in about a month's time and how you want to get there, how you want to go about it. When you do this, always anticipate setbacks and make sure you leave some cushion time or flexibility, say maybe 2 to 3 days, because things almost never go as planned, and having a rigid or tightly packed plan will just collapse when something unexpected comes up. Again, when you check your progress at the end of the month, remember that you don't have to meet every single goal every single time. What really matters is that you still have made some progress and are in a better space than before. Continue to do this, and by the end of the year, the change you will see will be quite big. Number 4. Budget your time, giving it a little more time than its fair share you think is necessary. Now, don't confuse that with overestimating. Neither should you overestimate time nor should you underestimate it. Be realistic. First, making a proper estimation of the time required and then adding a tad more would be just fine. Number 5. Plan just right. Set achievable goals. Aiming for big and quick transformation is very likely to backfire, and then there is the risk of burnout as well. So it's always better to take one small step at a time. Number 6. Make your to-do list. Not a daily one, but a weekly or monthly one. And hold on to it as if those tasks were your commandments. Once you make the list, you tell yourself that you are committed to seeing them through come what may. Unless and until some emergency crops up, of course. Number 7. Speaking of to-do list, this is where the urgent important matrix quadrant plays a significant role. And I just love this. This one matrix quadrant can put so many perspectives right and help you identify your priorities and plan the to-do list accordingly. I am sure many of you must be aware of this quadrant already, but there is a slight variation in how I follow it, which I will be presenting here. So in my matrix quadrant, quadrant 1 goes to the tasks that are urgent as well as important. They should be your top of the list priority. Quadrant 2 goes to tasks that are urgent but not important. In the original matrix, you will find this category coming in the third quadrant, but I personally prefer to have it in the second one. Anything that needs to be dealt with urgently, although not all that important at that time, can go on to become even more urgent and important, or even a crisis if not managed well in time. So I choose to get all urgent tasks out of the way. Of course, you can choose to delegate it to someone reliable if you can, and that would leave more time on your hands for important things. So in my matrix, the third quadrant goes to tasks that are important but not urgent. If managed and managed well in time, these important tasks can be prevented from becoming urgent, and it is good to keep it that way. Finally, the fourth quadrant, of course, goes to all those not important and not urgent tasks. Now, some say these tasks can be completely eliminated, but I don't recommend that. Two things here. It is actually subjective as to what is important or not. Regardless, if left undone, it is quite possible that these very tasks go on to become either important or urgent, and then you cannot afford to ignore it anymore. So it is always better to get things done rather than leave them as is for an indefinite period of time and then hustle to take care of it. However, yes, you can again delegate this category of tasks or allot very little time so that something gets done gradually but surely, and as such doesn't put you in a tight spot in the future. Number 8. Lastly, have a couple of long-term goals as well. Of course, it is recommended that you break down that long-term goal into shorter, smaller ones, but then have clarity on what is it that you want to finally achieve through the string of smaller goals. As I see it, the one major advantage of having a long-term goal is that whether you succeed in it or not, whether you are perfect at it or not, you will still find yourself turning into a better and more capable person day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year. And that is what anyone's ultimate goal must be. In fact, I have mentioned the same in my channel description as well. There is forever scope for improvement, and I personally like to challenge myself to get better and better at everything. Be it learning a new skill or gaining new insights or working on relationships or helping a loved one feel better, or just do random acts of kindness for complete strangers or even the tiniest living creature, or a bit of good for the environment. Those last bits especially, I cannot tell you how much happiness it gives me, just so that I could be kind or help another helpless, hapless being. Not only happiness, but it also helps me grow personally. And I mean really grow as a person and fulfill me more at the soul level. When you lay out a plan and set up on the journey, look at what has already been achieved for motivation, and for inspiration, look at what all can still be achieved. The next video is going to be the last in the Willpower series, and in my opinion, it's going to be an interesting one. We are going to look into all the different seemingly unrelated actions you can take up that will help you strengthen or generate more willpower. I'll be seeing you then.